Weapon of mass distraction, full in force. So Red Cross came in and they opened up shelters for all the displaced people. Now, houses were destroyed. They were wiped off their foundations. A lot of wood homes, a lot of wood-built homes in North Carolina. My grandpa built his home out of the timber he cleared on the mountain, and then he built his home out of it. A lot of homes are built like that in North Carolina.
Imagine.
Right. Imagine taking the resources on your property and using them to build your house. Who would have thunk? Also in North Carolina, and no disrespectful, a lot of people go up there and have enough money to buy 10 or 12 acres on a mountain, but they don't know how to cut timber and cut it the right way and plank it and seal it so it can be made into a house. So they go out and they rent a trailer, a mobile home, whatever you want to call it, and they put a trailer on their property. So when a hurricane of that magnitude comes in, and then the mountain and the river and the dams give way, and all that flooding and all that wind and all that rain, trailers are swept away also, right? Houses are destroyed. Even well-made houses are destroyed in an event like that. So we're talking about people, thousands and thousands of people, mind you, not like a couple, thousands of people that have absolutely nothing. They have nothing on their property, right? So now they have to do all the cleanup and removal and disposal before they can even start rebuilding. They then have to rebuild. So they came in, Red Cross came in, and they allowed tents on your private property. So if your house was destroyed and you don't want to live in a shelter, they said you can live in a tent on your property. We won't mess with you.
It's my property. I'm not taking your resources. Seems logical.
Yes, and this is why we need to get rid of the government. Listen, I'm sorry. When I run for office, I'm running on the Trump party. No, we have a government that is out of control. It's too big. It's like a bully junkyard dog telling people what you can do on your own property, especially in an emergency situation when you're displaced. So they open up shelters. People move into the shelters. They have children. Some of the people who could rough it in a tent, maybe they got a toddler, maybe they got a baby. You know, they need electricity, they need power. Maybe they have a child with special needs. Living in a tent won't work for them. Maybe somebody in their family needs medical attention, so they have to be somewhere with power. So they move into these shelters. Some shelters hold 1,400 people. Some shelters share 1,000 people. Some are like 450 people. Different types of shelters around North Carolina. Red Cross opens them and funds all of them. 30 days, give or take, after the storm, they announced that they don't say they're out of money, but basically lack of funding.
Probably.
They say we're closing the shelters. But don't worry. In Florida, we call it DCF. In North Carolina, they call it DSS, Department of Social Service. Don't worry. We're going to do exit interviews on everybody leaving the shelters. And if you have children, minors, and you don't have a permanent residence to go to, we will help you out. We will temporarily take custody.
That sounds nice.
I know. You're welcome. Hey, Ronald Reagan said the worst words ever spoken is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Right? Paraphrase it, but he said it. Don't worry, Heather. We're going to help you out. You and Billy Hippopotamus, go get in a tent, fend for yourselves. We are going to put your kids in the home shelter, foster shelter system, and we have
Put them in school?
We're going to take care of everything. We're going to feed them. We're going to clothe them. We're going to get them vaccinated, get them all their shots.
No.
Well, we have to because they're going in our system, and we have to be able to track our system and keep our system safe and sanitized. But don't worry. As soon as you get your house built, we'll give them back to you.
I'll just go live in my tent with my kids.
No, you can't do that.
Why?
Because your tent is not safe. It doesn't have power. It doesn't have running water. It's okay for you as an adult, but your minors can't live like that. So you have to show us permanent
But
what do you call it? Residence.
Okay.
All right, so hold on.
I am. I'm
Now,
waiting. I'm ready.
There's an initiative, though, the Tiny Home Coalition. I may be saying their name wrong, but they're the Tiny Home Coalition. Mm-hmm. It's a not-for-profit company that has these little bitty sheds. You get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, at the shed store. You see them all over town.
Tiny houses aren't little sheds, but
that's how this company does them. They're mobile sheds that they can bring in with a flatbed truck, unload it, strap it down, and basically it's like a shed, but it's insulated. It has a window unit. It has a generator for backup power. It's a secure place for you to live. It's probably like living in a studio apartment.
Right. They're like 900 square feet at most.
Yes.
Or 600. Wait,
but
it's tiny.
They're small. They're like 600 to 750, 600 to 800 square feet. All right. Some of them are nice. They have a toilet and a shower in them. Some of them have a toilet and a shower kind of outhouse style on the outside of it, in a little like outside adjacent lean-to deal. But they're a place.
Tiny House Alliance. Tiny
Alliance,
House
not coalition. Alliance. All right. So these people give tiny homes to people who have lost everything for free. They come to your house, they drop it off, and then when your home is built or the time limit is up, they come pick up the tiny home and remove it from your property. All right. It's a not-for-profit to help people who have no shelter, no house after catastrophic events. The government, the administration, is doubling down on permit requirements. And these people are having to fight and be held up in the permitting process of dropping shelter on people's property. Now, you may say, well, Jonathan, that's the rules, man. Those are the rules, right?
Not in an emergency.
But they shouldn't be in an emergency. So I want Heather to go through because they are restricting permits for tiny houses, but yet they've waived and paved the way for another industry. The child foster care industry. I want you to read as many as you want, but there was a couple important ones that had to do with sexual crimes and no home. You go ahead. Take it from here for a minute.
Okay, so the state of North Carolina is making a special effort to make it easier for foster homes to get by during this disaster by basically waiving all licensing fees and requirements that are necessary to be state-approved foster homes as long as the disaster lasts, which, as we learned with COVID, could be
Forever.
years.
Right.
And it's indefinite.
Right.
So of the things that they are waiving, the requirements of medical examinations for all family members in the foster family to be dated within 12 months of submitting for a new foster home application or foster home relicensure.
Waived.
You don't have to, right.
Yep.
Regulates fire and building safety of licensed foster homes. Don't
Waived.
care if it
Don't
lights
need it.
on fire.
Don't matter if your house is a firebomb. No problem. You can take kids.
Provide the health and environmental regulations for licensed foster homes during the state of emergency. The requirements that the home and yard shall be maintained and repaired. Windows and doors used for ventilation shall be screened. Household equipment and furniture should be in good repair. And running water. Waived.
You can not have running water. You can have broken windows. You can have a house with rats open to the environment.
And
but guess what? You can take kids from other people.
And this one will be waived until 30 days after the expiration of the state of emergency. So you
Yeah.
don't have to have running water for that whole month after it's all lifted. And there's one more on here. The requirement for foster home room arrangements. I didn't know. This shocked me yesterday when you and Amy were talking about it. During the state of emergency, the following requirements will be waived until 30 days after the state of emergency. Bedrooms should not serve dual function. No daybed, convertible sofa, or other bedding of temporary nature shall be used in the exclusive sleeping area of the child, and separate and accessible drawer space and closet space for personal belongings and clothing shall be available for each child. Waived.
So for the people who adopt children, right? I have enough of my own, but I
Yeah, you do. Can you imagine?
But I think it's very awesome. That's a God adjective, and I don't use awesome a lot. I think it's very awesome of the people who say, you know what? I raised one or two kids. I'm still young enough to help. I want to adopt a child.
You have a child who's already planned on adopting like 7
Yes,
children.
Annabelle, yes. But forget foster care. Now, I'm talking about certified adopting a human being. Social service or Department of Children and Family comes into your home. You have to prove where that child's going to sleep, what dresser drawers that child has access to, what part of the closet space it has to, where it's going to brush and wash its teeth and face, how it's going to shower, where it's going to use the bathroom. And it can't be like, oh yeah, the adopted child is going to share a room with 3 other of my children. Absolutely not. They actually have codes in certain cities where if you have a 3-bedroom, let's say you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, right? You can't have more than 8 occupants in there. Because they say there has to, DCF or DSS says there has to be enough foot space for children to grow properly. So these are...
Send them outside to run around. What
I get
foot
it.
space do they
Listen,
need?
I get it. I get it. But there's so many rules and regulations that they say are necessary, especially when you're adopting or fostering a child, but they're waiving all of them. Waiving all of them. Bring the kids, bring the kids, bring the kids. There's one on there, I don't know if you can find it real quick, that if you've been convicted of a sexual crime or have misconduct or whatever, that will even be waived. That was the one that pissed me off the worst when you brought that one up. That someone can actually have a sexual conduct crime or charge against them, and still that investigation is waived until after the emergency for them to receive children. The reason I'm mad about this, the reason you should be mad about this, is that this administration, this Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration that is trying to paint a picture against Donald Trump and the Republican Party is actively stealing people's children. Okay? And call me a crazy person if you want to, but there's one site that Heather went to that shows the breakdown of the money that the federal government pays for these foster cares and foster homes, and about the amount of children that are unaccounted for. So much that the state of North Carolina actually did a report that they have 2,700 children in foster care in such and such county, and all are completely accounted for. Are you effing kidding me? Like, are you seriously kidding me? But this same administration says we have to have a standard. You can't just put a shed or a temporary building up on a piece of property. We're going to hold you up in permitting because we have rules and regulations. But if you're at Red Cross and you have 3 children that are under the age of 16 and you don't have a home, you're going to a tent, DCF will forcefully take your children to North Carolina and temporary custody them in housing in the foster care system until you can prove adequate, up-to-date residency. But the people who are keeping your kids don't have to have windows, don't have to have running water, don't have to have proper bedding, don't have to have proper shower and bathroom toiletries, don't have to worry about overcrowding, and don't have to worry about being sexual predators. The one lady, and I'm really going to bring her up because she brought everything back to P. Diddy and Epstein. And this is on Instagram if you want to look her up. I can't remember her name, but she did this whole story, and she had her charts and her facts and all this. She was on Instagram, and she, at the end of it, said, "Are your eyes open yet? You wonder where do they get all the children from for Epstein's Islands and that whole Clinton debacle, whatever. That's, rumor, hearsay, right? Whatever. And the P. Diddy parties and all these weird sexual things. You wonder where they get the children from? Just Google how many children in the foster care system are displaced, runaways, walkaways, and they don't even know where the kids are at anymore." And it makes you start to think, Heather, like, okay, I'm part of the system. I'm getting paid on the down low. I take 4 kids in, and then when the white van comes to pick up 2 of them, all I got to do is pick up the phone and call the supervisor at DSS and say, "Hey, listen, Timmy didn't come home from school today. What do you want me to do?" And they're like, "Oh, don't worry. We'll be there to pack up all his things. We'll take care of it." And then little Timmy or little Jimmy or little Johnny or little Susie's never heard of again. I honestly, as a human being, I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe it.
Well, and you can't find any of this on Google.
But
I
on
had to go
DuckDuckGo,
to DuckDuckGo to find this website, and you can look at it. It's Health Impact News was one of them, but the other was medicalkidnap.com.
and you verified those. They've been around since 2014.
Yes, medicalkidnap.com. I looked it up on Whois, and it's been around since October 3rd of 2014. So it's not like it's a scam website. It's not like one that just popped up in the last 30 days. It's not one that's voting for Kamala or Trump.
Right. It's been around for a while.
Right.
Reported on this kind of stuff.
Right.
And guys, it's a real thing. It's time to take notice. I can't do anything. I'm still on a walker and a cane. But I would love to be in North Carolina right now. Did you hear that story about, oh my goodness, where did I have it at? This is an awesome story. And we need more of this. All right, let me see if I can figure this real quick. No, not that one. Hang on. Un momento. North Carolina officials initially estimated the road to Big Chimney Mountain would take several months or almost a year to complete and get open for the residents. Nevertheless, a team of West Virginia coal miners came to North Carolina voluntarily, and they cleared the entire road in under a week. Their commitment and proficiency deserve significant reservations and thanks. More importantly, they did it without taking a dollar. And they have a picture here of all these coal miners,
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Love it.
So the government is failing. We, the people, are stepping in. And
As it should be.
Right. But that's why we need the Trim Party for Jonathan Morris, because we have useless government. Like my grandpa used to say, you're as worthless as on a boar hog. All right? That's how worthless the government is. The overspending, the debt we have, the programs and the divisions of the government, they can't pay their own bills. Could you imagine in your personal business or in your private family life if you had things that you couldn't afford, but you got to keep them and keep getting newer ones because you just called the bank and be like, hey, extend my credit, hey, extend my credit, hey, extend my credit. And yeah, I'll make a payment eventually, but extend my credit? How does our federal government keep getting away with this crap?
We keep letting them.
It's asinization. Put it on a t-shirt. Asinization. Jonathan Moore said so. We'll be right back.